Me, burning wood, whatever next. I'm starting here with a 6-inch piece of tulip wood. Going to mount this on the lathe with my faceplate, and I've recently started using this faceplate that came with my chuck. I find it so much quicker to use because once you've got the centre marked out, and I just use a compass to mark out where the outside edge should be from the centre point, quickly screw it on and you can then straight onto the chuck. So there's no messing about having to keep taking the chuck on and off. First job, after I just faced off the bottom, I marked off where the mortise is going to be and then trued up the outside and got the shape that I wanted. For the mortise, I've not actually done a flat base in there like I normally would do. I've just left it so it's a bit domed. The tulip wood is actually a fairly soft wood, and you do get a fair bit of tear out at times. It was a case of having to go over with the skew chisel just to try and reduce all that with plenty of sanding. Now, I'm a bit annoyed here because the camera didn't record everything. It's missed where I've done the burning around the bottom rim of the bowl. You will see it later where I do the actual rim, so it's a very similar process. On with the sanding sealer, then Yorkshire Grit, and I end up giving this 2 coats of Woodwax22. And what I find is that with the Woodwax22, you can just put it on, 30 seconds later you can buff it off, but it's best to leave it probably about 10-15 minutes if you want to put a second coat on. Once all the outside of the bowl is finished, it's just reverse it round onto the chuck and take the faceplate off. I had just a couple of odd little bits of tear out on this, and I found that it required a fair bit of sanding. I then went back and went straight over it again with a really sharp bowl gouge. There was a couple of minor little tool marks, and eventually they sort of cleared up a bit, and it did still resort into a fair bit of sanding just to get rid of them fully. With all the inside then sanded down to where I wanted to be, I just used my little mini blowtorch just to burn the rim on here. It was sort of like the effect that I was after. I didn't want something that was a really hard defined black rim. When you see the close-up of this, you will actually see that there's lots of sort of like brighter bits within there still as well. Same as with the outside, sanding sealer, Yorkshire Grit, 2 coats of Woodwax22. Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome along everyone. Different project, which is nothing unusual for me, is it? Been in the house today repairing a door on and off, and when I came out I really didn't know what to do. My camera rig here, I turned a couple of nuts to replace these old softwood ones so that they work a lot better now, and like I say, I really didn't know what to do, so I opted for what was a fairly simple bowl, and this is a piece of tulip wood that I got from Barry when I was at UKIS. And initially I was just going to go for a straightforward simple design, the shape that I've got there, mortise in the bottom rather than a tenon, and when I got onto it I started off with a little bit of burning on the bottom there. And from there I thought, well, in actual fact, perhaps I can do something with the rim as well. And I quite like this because it's not a clear defined edge with the burning on the rim. And the whole feel of this is that it's as smooth as anything, but you can feel where all the grain has risen up from all the burning and everything. And with the little green patch in there as well, it shows inside as well, it gives it a nice character. And to be honest, I mean, even though it's a fairly plain wood, it has got quite some nice grain in there. So I've got to say I'm really pleased with that. That's, I suppose, more or less what I'd pictured. Turning it was actually quite easy. Tulip wood is actually fairly soft. The problem I had was really with odd little bits of tear out and tool marks, and I did have to do quite a bit of sanding, and I went back with the tools again once or twice just to level things out, just to try and get rid of tool marks, back to more and more sanding. So it's actually had quite a bit of sanding in there. I sanded this to 320 grit and then used the Yorkshire Grit for a change and gave it 2 coats of Woodwax22, and I think it's really come up nicely. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next project video.